G'day, I'm Glenn Torrance. Welcome to another episode of Retro Rides. Today we're taking a look at this iconic Australian car, Holden's HQ Monaro GTS. Holden's range for the 1970s, the HQ, was a very pretty car. It was a very elegant car, particularly in context of the model that preceded it, which was a lot more brick-like. This being a Monaro, of course, it's a two-door and it's got this lovely little wind-down side back window. But the thing I like about this particular model, the HQ Monaro, is this lovely wraparound back window. I think it's just luscious. Under the skin of the HQ, there was a whole lot of fresh tech for Holden. The car was built on a half chassis, which made the car ride smoother. It made it a little bit more quiet in the cabin, and it made the thing more durable for harsh outback conditions. Holden's new HQ sedan, wagon, and of course the two-door Monaro Coupe cruised on coil spring rear suspension. That was a first for Holden. This particular Monaro dates from 1972 and it's owned by Sydney enthusiast Greg Parsons. G'day Greg, nice to meet you.
Hi Glenn, how are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about your time with this Monaro. How long have you owned it?
Just on 30 years.
30
I bought
years.
it in the mid-90s.
Okay, that's a long time to own one particular car. It's in remarkably good original condition.
Yep.
What have you done to sort of like keep it looking so good?
Well, I originally finished a car and then I bought this car.
So what was the other car? Let me guess, it was a modified...
Yeah, same shape, 71 model Monaro.
Yes.
And then I finished it, came across this one because I wanted a stock standard GTS, which were hard to get even back then.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm admiring your wisdom in going to look for an original Monaro back then. Where did you find it?
My dad actually found it. He saw it on the side of the road in a small town outside Tamworth.
That doesn't happen anymore, does it? For sale on the side of the road.
He actually had it for sale for about 6 weeks and he would not budge from the original price. I offered him about $300 cheaper.
Yes.
And no, it wouldn't budge, and then I thought, nah, I can't let it go.
So you weren't going to lose the opportunity to own this car for less than a week's wages even back then?
Exactly, yeah. It's pretty much exactly as it is.
Yes.
He had a twin light front on it.
No.
I think he'd hit a kangaroo and he had to replace it in between. Yeah. But it had been painted in the mid-80s.
Yes.
And I bought it in 95.
Okay, so you replaced the nose, you restored the nose to...
bring it back to original.
Good idea.
Original wheels.
Yes.
Interior is exactly the same.
Yes.
It was originally a factory manual. Yes. I had a 5 litre, so I brought it back to period correct, and the manual gearbox was still the original gearbox from new. Back in the day, the wreckers, it was harder. It was easy to get 253 motors.
Yeah.
Because of the turbo pattern in the later 5 litre blocks, you had to get a HQ 308 to mate with the manual gearbox.
A lot of us car enthusiasts, we remember these Monaros and also the Ford and Chrysler equivalents, the Ford Falcon hardtops and the Chrysler Chargers. Australia didn't really like, I mean, we love them now, don't take this the wrong way, but back in the 1970s, they just didn't sell that strongly. They were like single-digit percentages of overall production. So
13,500 HQ Monaro coupes they made.
Yeah, that's all. That's out of a production run of somewhere around about 424,000 or something.
Yep.
It was nearly 500,000 cars, and well, what's the percentages there? Single-digit percentages. It's a bit too early to be doing too much maths, but they weren't selling thousands and thousands of these things every month. They were not. And that's what made them, I guess that's part of the reason why they're special today.
Well, the only option he ticked on this was the 308.
Yes.
Which gave him the heavy duty radiator.
Yes.
And the different diff ratio.
Yeah.
And that was for a pricely sum of $80.
$80.
Yeah.
Mate, I think I bought a case of beer worth more than that last night to share with my mate. So yeah.
I love it, and yeah, these are in my will for the kids.
Your kids, eh? How can I become your kid? Greg, thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Retro Rides.
Let's go for a cruise, eh?
Yeah, we will do.
There are things you can do to dress up your new Holden or Torana. There are
to make your car look smart, to please a driver's heart, to give your car real style. Lots of things to make you smile.
I did own an HQ sedan for about 11 or 12 years. It was a car that I restored back in the late 1990s. I sold it to buy another Holden, a Holden Commodore, but yeah, this is first time I've driven one of these in 15 years. Greg actually asked me if I knew how to drive a manual, because I think a lot of people these days only drive automatics, but I'm staunch. I know cars. I can drive 4-speed. Yeah. Nothing like a V8, mate. It's hard to believe these Holdens are now, you know, for a lot of people my age, it's hard to believe these things are now more than 50 years old. These Kiwis were launched in 1971, and for a lot of people my age, 40s, 50s, 60s, these were everywhere in the 1980s. Of course, that's not true now, and that means that the values of these cars are quite strong. This is a car that's north of $100,000 in value. This car being a Monaro GTS, it's fitted with disc brakes on the front. That was actually a pretty big deal back in the early 1970s. Most cars, most family cars of the time had drum brakes. We also need to consider that back then Australia didn't have too many freeways. Cars didn't cruise along at 100 k's an hour as much as they do now, or 110 kilometres an hour. Don't know why I talk about brakes. Brakes only slow you down, but anyway. You're banging along with one of these with the windows down, it's actually quite joyful. These were capable of 105, 110 mile an hour back in the day. If you had a long enough piece of road and enough nerve to actually hold it flat. The handling of these cars was a little bit, back in the day it was criticised. The chief engineer at Holden for the chassis development was an American living in Australia for a while. He sorted out, well, he was in control of the suspension of these HQ Holdens, and he set the cars up so they understeered. He thought that was a safety feature. Unfortunately, it made the car quite soggy, quite marshmallowy. Wasn't as responsive as what some people, some enthusiast drivers expected. Describing this car as a little bit soggy is I'm trying not to disrespect it. This is how these cars were back in the day. It was a different mindset. It was a different world. Holden's gearboxes back in the 1970s and into the 1980s, 4-speed manual. These days, or until recently, cars had 5-speed manuals. This gearbox feels pretty good actually. It shifts quite nicely. The steering's not too heavy in this car once you get the car rolling. No power steer on this particular Monaro. The Monaro legend was born in 1968, winter of 1968, with Holden's first two-door coupe, Australia's, well, actually the first two-door coupe designed in Australia. The Holden HK Monaro. This series, the HQ Holden, came along 3 years later, and of course it carried on the legend of the original Monaro that actually won Bathurst. The name Monaro is actually derived from the region in southern New South Wales around the Snow Mountains. Back in the late 1960s, was travelling around Cooma and the Cooma Monaro region in Australia, the Snow Mountains in New South Wales. And he thought the name Monaro, which was the local council name, he thought that sort of rolled off the tongue in the same way that the US GM name Camaro. He thought that Monaro sounded a little bit like Camaro, and he went back to the head office in Melbourne and he suggested Monaro be the name for the new, secret, under development Holden two-door coupe. Now, not all Monaros were the GTS model that this is. Holden's entry-level Monaro was powered by a 6-cylinder engine, a 3.3 litre, 202 cubic inch 6. But of course, everybody wanted a V8, and there were 3 V8s available in these Monaros. There was the 4.2 litre, 253 cubic inch Australian V8. There was the 308, the 5 litre Australian V8, and also there was an optional 350 cubic inch imported Chevrolet motor. That was the last outing for the Chev motor in Australia until like early this century. For a lot of people, the V8 is all about performance, but I just like chugging along in top gear at, what are we doing? We're doing like 35 mile an hour. And just, I don't know, just letting the pistons do the talking. What a great time we've had today. What a privilege it's been to spend time with Greg, the current custodian of this HQ Holden GTS. Greg shared the story, of course, with us about finding a couple of the original owners, and that's been absolutely wonderful. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I'm Glenn Torrance. You've been watching Retro Rides. See you next time. Cheers.
retrorides.com.au. All your favourite classic, collector and performance rides in one place. Buy, sell and watch your dream car today.